we are asked to look at the following problem. The following two functions, f of x and g of x. And what happens when you take the dependent variable and you run it through each of these functions, and not just individually, not running the dependent variable through each of these functions individually, but running the independent variable through each of them simultaneously together. So composition is the act of taking your independent variable, running it through the first function, in this case, g of x, and then running that right into another function, f of x, to get a new and interesting answer. As we've discussed before, functions are very similar to these machines that I'm drawing here. You have an independent variable that you plug in to receive a dependent variable. In this case, our independent variable becomes, our dependent variable, following the relationship of in g of x, of this independent variable becomes the independent variable of f of x and creates another answer. We are being asked to find the composition or the dependent variable necessary to plug into g of x that then plugs into f of x and is equal to 0. In order to do this, we are given a graph. Sorry, not a chart, we're given a table. The table contains values for each of these. So in this problem, we have that x, that we're inputting in some x that we're looking for, we don't know. And when we input it into this composition, we get a 0. So we also need to find what this value is here in order before we figure out what the x value is. So in order to figure out what this is, we need to see what x goes in, what dependent variable goes into this function f of x in order to give us 0. So f of x is equal to 0, f of x equals 0, therefore the dependent corresponding relationship, the dependent corresponding number is -1. This is -1. If f of x is 0, then x is -1. If g of x is -1, then, if g of x is -1, then this x, the dependent variable of g of x, would be -2. So in this case, x is equal to -2. And we were able to do this by taking the dependent variable and retracing our steps.